Hello everybody. So sorry I haven't been able to do it, but I'm gonna be doing it. And what we're doing is, what if Deku was Jack the fucking Ripper? So how we're gonna do this is kind of interesting. So how quirks come about is, I'm gonna change up how they are. Basically, they come from people who were alive once. Like they come from, like pretty much from people who were alive and what they could have done and yeah, what they could do. And they kind of like enhance on that like several times over to where it's like superpowers almost. Well, it is. But yeah, that's basically how it is. So if you're really greedy and you're and while you're like old lives, you're going to have like one for all. Not one for all, like I think it's all for one. Whoopsies. Now what's gonna happen, how this is gonna work with Jack the Ripper, is Deku's going to be born with a quirk. Now, how this quirk manifests is kind of interesting. So Deku, he is going to be, he's going to have like a split personality disorder, but it only happens when he's 5. And what happens is, no one's like really thinking he has a quirk, so Bakugo picks on him. And as soon as Bakugo picks on him, and like uses his quirk on him, that's when Jack arrives, when Jack emerges. And what Jack does is sick of this, is it's more of a sadistic, torturous monster like of Deku. And what this version does, like what this side of him does, is Jack, he remembers his whole past life. He remembers it. There's two sides of Deku, Jack and Deku. So Jack, he remembers his past life and he knows what he did. Now he's there to like kind of like rectify it. He's trying to like not do what he did before because he was sick in the head. So now he's kind of like, he's trying to like, do something better and try and become a hero and fulfill who he is, whose body he's in right now. Choice of doing for an occupation is kind of what he's going for. So that's kind of like what he's going to try and do. And what happens is he takes control. And when he takes control, he takes whatever's around him and aims for certain joints. And when he hits these certain joints, he bashes it into Bakugo's joints. And I would say it's like first it goes for probably the most painful part for a guy, which is the balls. Then he goes for the stomach, and then follows up by strangling him and pretty much putting him unconscious. And then when everyone else sees this, they're thinking, oh, he's probably got some kind of fighting quirk where he just beat the crap out of him. And, well, Jack, he kind of releases this bloodthirsty look and terror and fear that sends everyone else running. And after that, Deku, he's seen by the teachers, and they kind of like, they pull him outside, they have like a talk with him. And that's when Jack kind of like just goes out and just kind of like passes out, makes it like that Deku passes out. Because when Jack switches control, it's bringing an unconscious Deku back into the world. And it's like a blackout for a second. So I'm going to say this, Deku's eye color will change to red when he switches, and what ends up happening is they think it's like his quirk activating, so they bring him into the quirk doctor. And the quirk doctor's like explaining, okay, we'll figure out what your quirk is. And they try everything, but then they figure out, oh, hey, maybe it's like something like a trigger. So what ends up happening is they have a scenario where they test it, where they do a fake scenario with Inko in danger. And how that happens is Inko be like pretending to be at home. It's actually this like whole set up area to look like a home. And he's just unconscious, like sleeping. Jack's like sleeping as well because Deku is as well. So he's sleeping, but they're in this like fake version of their home. And this was like a month in planning, like 3 months of planning. So yeah, this is like something they gotta figure out because they don't know what kind of quirk it is. And what they do is when they find out that, oh, Like what you're finding out here is basically that they set up a fake villain attack, and basically they make it seem like that All Might Can't Come, no heroes are coming, and Deku, Jack's side emerges, and he he kind of like, well, after Deku gets knocked down by the villain, Jack emerges and pretty much grabs a knife and slashes into the guy's leg, and slashes and slashes, aims for the stomach, then gutting into it, lacerates the liver and stomach. Now, if it wasn't for the tranquilizers and all that, Deku would have continued, well, Jack would have continued killing this man. And after reviewing the footage, they realized that some kind of offensive quirk that goes on to having him aim for certain areas. And after confirming this, they kind of think, what's the problem with having this quirk? Because it almost looks like a totally different person when he attacks. So what they do is they set him up in a room, and they see if they can talk to this other person, because it's just a wild guess. And when Jack emerges, it's they get the whole rundown of what's going on, and after that they're like, okay, well, this is dangerous, but letting Jack the Ripper out in the world, or even imprisoning him and not letting him do what he wants to do for Deku, is kind of messed up. So what they do is they give him there's a bunch of instructions on how he's going to use his quirk. Like, he can't just go around killing people, or he can't really use this quirk. Like, the two cannot go out and just, go ahead and kill people. There's no thing that's going on with that. And seeing how this is more like Deku's in control and Jack is like a guardian, really, that protects him, that's kind of like how it's going to be. So what ends up happening is this. When Deku goes to school now, he has to be no one can touch him. Like, no one can mess with him at all. Kids are warned about this, that his quirk is a lethal quirk. It can be villainous if you see it that way, but his quirk is very dangerous. Like, some kids treat him like a villain, but they just really sheepishly just stay away from him. Girls are afraid of him, everyone's afraid of him, because they just think, they give him a nickname, calling him a killer, murderer, something like that. They really don't like Deku, and I would say it's right near the end of middle school where that's going to be starting the whole thing. I would say that Bakugo tries to mess with him, and just because he's done with it, he's not afraid of a kid that's got some kind of quirk, whatever. And now here's the thing, Jack, this is what's going to happen. Seeing how it's an increased amount of power in Jack's hands, because he's a quirk basically, he's basically got more of an analyzing area of how how the human body works. And seeing how Deku is an analyst, and he can analyze quirks and all that, Deku and Jack talk to each other about how quirks could work, and it's two minds in one body, so it's fucking amazing, because they can just talk to each other about how quirks are and what their weaknesses would be. And what ends up happening is this: Deku, when Bakugo tries to fight Deku, he's been working out with Jack, and the two of them have become best friends. And when it comes down to personal safety, Jack is Deku's given his permission to just go defend him, but no killing. And what ends up happening is Jack, he gums out, and he seeing how they had to work with each other. Jack's conditions of him, doing at least helping Deku was have him work out a lot, which is kind of nice. So Deku, he knows a lot about how to sneak around thanks to Jack, and Jack and Deku, like, they're pretty much the same person, just Deku's like he's more of a nice guy, and he kind of uses these skills to like help people. So what ends up happening is, instead of the whole sledging villain encounter, it's like an after-school special, as in Deku and Bakugo are fighting each other. And what ends up happening is this: Jack beats Bakugo, and what's gonna go on next is this: Jack, when Deku and Jack are going home, because they worked out a way of how to, have Deku come back, and he's conscious of and how he's able to move. And it's like a really slow kind of process, but it works. It's like Jack waking Deku up. Now, what ends up happening for the rest of the 10 months period, seeing how Deku got beaten beyond like insane amounts, like he had to go to the hospital like a few days later because of after effects of the fight. Broken ribs was mainly the reason. Amazing he even walked at all, but yeah. What ended up happening was this: Deku, he didn't get in trouble at all, because I don't think Bakugo would let it, but for the 10 months training, Deku and Jack, they kind of like find acupuncture, and they learn about the whole entire thing about how acupuncture works and how Jack's skills can be like really useful here. Now Deku's like still hell-bent on like becoming a hero, so they put together their hero suit, and this is what they come up with. So it's not really much because it's from Assassin's Creed, but still, it's a great outfit. I like this one. Like, I like this Jack better than all the others. And what they're coming up with is this: under that cloak is a bunch of bladed weapons and just stuff to kind of like help him fight off people. Well, I wouldn't say they learned it in acupuncture. I've been like modern medicine and how to use it, and so I'd say that they're pretty much. They got a bunch of stuff homemade and stuff that's like medicinal herbs that they blended together to make some nice medicines that'll help with the body and help repair it. Like some sleeping medicine, some stuff like that they can turn into like gas bombs and stuff like that. Now, thanks to this, they've been also training their tolerance levels, so their tolerance to poisons and other medicines are really high, so they're able to, Jack's is like insanely high, while Deku's like halfway there. Reason being is Jack is like able to quickly push himself through it, because it's almost like an entirely different person. The only thing different is the fact that the body isn't really that changed much, because I would say Jack would actually know how to meditate through it, and Deku would take time for him to do it, because Jack's like an older gentleman in this kind of area. Now, for what's going to happen with how what is it with God, I'm blanking here. With how the UA entrance exam happens, simple. Deku, being awesome, he goes to does the written exam. By the way, he doesn't trip. Actually, you know what? He does. And it's a nice interaction where basically they exchange a few words, and then they go to, the written exam. And the written exam is easy for Deku because it's 2 minds, so it's kind of cheating. And he gets like first place, so yeah. Now, what's Deku's quirk name? It's called Jack. That's all it is. Jack. They don't know who or what, but they just know it's called Jack, because the guy that thought of the idea of the name would just thought it sounded so cool. Besides, it's Jack the Ripper. Come on. So what ended up happening was this. I will explain what happens later with Jack's identity and like how it all works, but that's in the next video of this. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it. For how the practical exam is, Deku, he's mostly saving people with the help of Jack, and Jack is like telling him what to do and how to help people out with the assistance. And when it's fighting robots, it's Jack who's fighting them. And when it's like Raka, Jag and Deku, they're right there, so they just help her out of there and they get her out. And they just treat her injury with whatever's around. Now, Deku, he gets the highest score because of how many rescue points he's got. Seeing how rescue points is like 60, so he's been saving around everybody there. So everybody like sees him as a hero. And normally this would be a lot of people would think, oh hey, this is like he's not doing anything when really he's been doing something really, really big. Now, when obviously Deku gets accepted, and when he gets accepted, he goes to Class 1A. Obviously, we have to do this. Anyways, I'm going to cover the rest there on the second part, so have a good day and a good night. Peace out.